welcome to Diecast Restos. My name is Jason and this is a Lonestar Roadmaster Supercar FLYERS number 22 Rolls Royce Silver Cloud Mark III. And breathe. It was introduced to the Impy range in 1967 and converted over to FLYERS wheels in 1969. It lasted through until 1976. Being a Lonestar, it had lots of opening features. Being a Lonestar, it is missing most of them. I've managed to gather quite a collection of incomplete rollers. I'll be using parts from this selection to build hopefully 2 complete cars. None of them have windshields though, but luckily Steve Flowers Model Supplies reproduced them. I've ordered 2 of those, plus I should have some leftover wheels that I can use on my shoddily repaired Lotus Europa. The 2-part centre-hinged bonnet is such a nice opening feature of these models, but seemingly incredibly fragile, since so many of mine are missing. The doors are pretty secure, but the boot latches can easily be broken. So in total I have 4 models in varying states of completion, plus a rogue base. I'll definitely be using that beige interior for one of my restorations, as it looks far nicer than the red ones. There were colour variations to the body of the rolls, but the most common by a country mile are these darker burgundy red shades. Here's one with the beige interior in mint condition. And here is a real Silver Cloud Mark III Mulliner Park Ward drophead that it is based on. Lonestar introduced the Silver Cloud to the Impy series in 1967, having already had a Mark II and a Mark III in their larger scale Roadmasters line. The Impy models had the full complement of opening features and were painted silver, less commonly mauve. These had the dual headlights and could be found with green or red interiors. The red interior was carried over to the new FLYERS range in 1969, with the beige interior joining. The Silver Cloud was recoloured dark metallic red. Some had racing stripe tampos along the body, but these are very rare. It was also released in white or clear coat blue, while lighter red shade variations can also be found. The FLYERS had silver disc wheels or the 5-spoke printed design. It had metal then later plastic suspension pieces. The Silver Cloud was produced until the FLYERS demise in 1976. As it is a convertible, it was not carried over to the Impy relaunch of 1978, where Lonestar blacked out models' windows to disguise the lack of interior. The construction of this model is very good indeed. The engine piece is riveted in. That holds the engine cover hinges in place and also acts as an anchor for the door springs. But with tiny little hinges like these, it's easy to see why so many examples are missing them. So here are nearly all of the pieces that make up the model, just minus a windscreen. And now let's get this show on the road by stripping some paint. The Rolls Royce Silver Cloud was a core part of the company's luxury vehicle lineup between 1955 and 1966. It replaced the Silver Dawn and saw a major change in design direction. Due to rationalisation, the Bentley S series was built to the same standards with a different grille and badging. The first model was built body on frame, allowing for some special bodied versions, though most were pressed steel company body shells. Its chassis was box section welded together, providing high rigidity. Cars were powered by a 155 horsepower 4.9 litre 6-cylinder engine, to which twin SU carburetors were added in 1957. It used GM's Hydromatic 4-speed transmission. Power steering and air conditioning became optional extras in 1956. A long wheelbase car was available from 1957 that lengthened the car by 4 inches. The special bodies that I mentioned before included an estate conversion by Harold Radford and the drophead coupe. It was replaced in 1959 by the Silver Cloud II. Little changed externally to the 4-door saloon, but it gained Rolls-Royce's 6.2 litre V8 engine. Power steering became standard and electric windows were now an option. The rear light assembly was remodelled in 1962 and headlamps became single-sealed beam units later that year. Again, coupe and convertible body styles were possible from coach builders. Then in 1963, the Silver Cloud 3 arrived, which is what this casting is based on. It made its public debut at the 1962 Paris Salon. However, it and the Bentley S3 were displayed on a specialist coachwork stand as if they were a special customer order. Power output was now up to a reported 220 horsepower. Externally, the car had its headlamps remodelled to a 2x2 layout, and it had an increased bonnet slope owing to a reduction in the height of the radiator grille. There were no major changes to the Silver Cloud between 1963 and 1966. Stainless steel wheel trims replaced the chrome-plated ones in 1963, and a rear window demister was also introduced that year. It had wider front seats fitted in January 1964. Coach builder Mulliner Park Ward styled the fixed head and drop head coupe, the latter more specifically what this casting represents. These had very untraditional slanted headlights that took influence from Italian manufacturers such as Lancia. The design was actually derived from the earlier Park Ward Bentley S1 and S2 Continentals. Approximately 100 of the 328 coach-built Silver Cloud 3s were of this style. 206 long wheelbase Silver Cloud 3s were made, while 2,044 saloons were built by Rolls Royce. Silver Cloud 1 and 2s were built in similar numbers. The Silver Cloud was replaced by the Silver Shadow, which was introduced in 1965. I've already restored a Silver Shadow in the shape of the Lesney Matchbox 24C Silver Shadow for my 100th restoration video back in December 2020. That was in a shade not too dissimilar to that of this Lonestar model. I've also previously restored a Silver Cloud. That was the Lesney Matchbox 44A Silver Cloud, which was based on the first generation car. That I restored a bit more recently in September 2021. Right now I'm about to kick off painting the body post-primer. First of all, it receives a coat of Tamiya TS14 black. You'll note that I've already painted the engine casting and secured it onto the body. I went about it this way in order to get a uniform coat of paint on the bonnet pieces as well as the doors. They wouldn't stay put without the spring retaining post cast into the underside of the engine piece. Over the coat of black goes Tamiya TS83 metallic silver. This gives a smoother finish over the gloss aluminium or silver leaf paints in my opinion, and will make for a great base for the clear red. This is Tamiya TS74 and it will get 2 coats. I think that this is a really nice rich match to the mid to darker shades originally applied by Lonestar. Once the second coat has gone on and it has dried, I apply the factory trim to the grille, headlights and front bumper. The Impy models had their dual headlights, but only the mauve model received silver trim to the grille and front bumper. It wouldn't have shown up on these silver painted castings. With that all drawn in, I clear coat the casting. I've given the beige interior Silver Cloud an early metal suspension piece, and the other red interior car the later plastic type. You'll see that the beige car sits a bit lower on the turntable. So let's put this one back together. The engine bay, bonnet covers, doors and boot lid are all in place on the body, while the suspension and wheels have already been fitted to the base, meaning there are few parts left to fully reassemble it. The reproduction windshield is push fit and the interior slots in from the bottom. The rear of the model is braced by a tab and the front is secured by a factory supplied flathead screw. So this was how one of my 4 Lonestar FLYERS Rolls Royce Silver Cloud 3s looked. This was the worst of all, missing its bonnet covers, windshield, right hand door, boot lid and its steering wheel had snapped off. In addition, the front right wheel had been damaged. It's unfortunate that reproduction parts aren't made for these at present, aside from the windshield. Luckily though, they are common models, having been produced for 9 years, so donors are plentiful. So let's see how I transform this one. I'm most proud of the paint match. The clear red on metallic silver on black is a technique I'll happily use time and again. The Steve Flowers Model Supplies supplied windshield is a well-fitting reproduction part and finishes the casting perfectly. This model represents why I love working with Lonestar castings. It's a hodgepodge of assorted pieces, new and mostly old, that have been amalgamated to create a couple of, to me, near identical replicas of the original form. It's strange to think prior to a few years ago, after picking up this hobby, I'd never even heard of Lonestar. Now, despite all their little foibles, they are among my favourite castings at this scale. We're just taking a look here at another of the 4 original castings that I transformed. Admittedly, I swapped out the red interior for the more fitting beige one. That door was completely wedged in at that scissor door-like position, but that was quickly fixed. It's a lot smarter as it looks now. I think that beige interior makes it look a much more complete model all round. Let me know what you think of this restoration by leaving a like and leaving a comment. So many of my viewers aren't subscribed, but it would mean a whole lot to me and the channel if you could subscribe if you aren't already. Even better, help support via YouTube memberships or on Patreon if you can. But that's all for today. All that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.